Okay, so we'll call the July 10, 2025 meeting of the Water Sewer Task Force to order. And I missed the last meeting, so I'm not fully up to snuff on what happened other than reading the notes that Rick sent. But it sounds like the first item is to get updated as to where we're at on the meter installation, lead copper compliance issues.
So let's start with meters. We had a meeting today with Dave Harris from Ty Sales and Paul Whittemore from New England Backflow. I think I left the meeting feeling that there was potential to work with them. They just round numbers. Without expansion tanks and check valves, typical meter installation is $800 to $1,000 per resident. Their team typically does 5 to 6 installations per day.
Wow.
So they have two teams. From the sounds of their schedule, I mean, if we decided to go with them, the soonest would be the beginning of next year, of 26. He did jokingly say he'd rather not do it in January up here, but that would be the soonest.
I think he was joking.
So, but there's stuff they need from us before they can give us,
A proposal.
yeah, they need a dimensional diagram of how we want the meters, what we want a typical meter installation to look like. Hang on while I flip through notes here. We need to do a little digging on just to confirm that there is no state requirement for check valves in a residence. They need a meter count, which he's indicated that the number we gave him today was probably good enough to move forward with him giving us a proposal. The biggest thing they need from us though is whether we want check valves, whether we want expansion tanks, which we really don't. But we have to confirm what the state wants from us. That would be through the plumbing codes. And then the dimensional diagram for how we want a typical installation. They were pretty confident that we would not be getting into meter pits because they have very creative ways. They've done some pretty tight installations and different installations, so to avoid freezing and stuff like that.
What, with like pipe wrap heating?
No, actually putting them in over top of the water heater or stuff like that. So
just keep it warm.
yeah. So I thought it was a good meeting. Rick, Tom, agree, disagree?
Oh, agreed. I think we came away with a positive, one positive solution.
Yeah.
There is still an alternate that we could talk about.
Yeah.
So I thought it was I got a heck of an education. It was great for me to better understand what we're really talking about. I like the guys. Here's the math I was doing
Right.
both in my head and on my computer, on my calculator while we were talking.
Yeah.
You know, assuming we go without the double check, backflow and the expansion tank, we're still looking at, let's be realistic, we're probably looking at close to $1,000 a pop.
Yeah.
$1,000 a piece times 800
Right.
units is $800,000. And if we went with the ones with the bells and whistles, with the expansion tanks and the check valves, we'd be looking at 1.2 million. It was a $1,500 per unit cost if we did that. So I started playing around with numbers. I chatted with Tom about this briefly afterward. I had two thoughts during this meeting. One was, is there any way we could make a commitment to dedicate one team of two, or even for a period of time, 2 teams of 2 from our staff. If you do the math, even if we were paying $50 per hour per person for a fully taxed, fully benefited employee to do this, if you play it out, you're looking at, for a project that would take us between 4 and 6 months, the staff time would cost us about $100,000. And then if you look at the cost that you guys were bringing in earlier of about $500 per unit instead of $800 per unit, right? 500 times 800 units would be 450, right? So we'd be likely well under what they could do. So that was my first thought, was can we go back to the drawing board and have a conversation? Second thought was an aha moment for me. Maybe others have thought of it ahead of me. But I think it's likely that I've been told, I don't have any reason to know this myself, but I've been told that it's quite possible we're going to come in significantly low on the water tower construction project. And I went back and looked at the language with which that project was warned in 2021, and the language said there were, I think, 4 things the money could be spent on: buying the land, building the tower,
Reservoir
liner, and water meters. So if we do come in 300 grand to the good, we've already warned a $3 million project for this, and it's been approved. 3 million, the 4.8985 minus the ARPA money and whatever, right? Call it $3 million. If we came in at 90% of the cost of that project and we had $300,000 sitting in the bank, that's half the money we need. That's 400 meters if we did it ourselves, in very rough terms. So I said to Tom, if this doesn't feel, I mean, you can speak to kind of the staffing issue, but it makes me think that in a month we should know, right? Roughly a month from now, we'll know how much money, maybe 6 weeks, maybe it's the middle of August before we get those bills finally sorted out. But we'll know what that water tower has cost us. If we're wrong and we come in at 0, no harm, no foul. Right? We know what we have to do. But if that comes in significantly under budget, seems to me we could turn around right away and start in on the water meter installation and see how far we can carry it. In the meantime, we can be looking for the money we need to do the other half of the project.
So are these 2 new staff, or are these reassigned
I
staff?
think
This is my normal staff.
Yeah.
Right now, I think the last meeting I kind of spoke about it, the playground's done. The causeway, I'm probably at 80 to 90% complete.
You just gotta put the top towers up.
Well, we only have a portion of it.
Oh, your
so
work is complete.
our work. There's certain little bit of work that I won't be able to finish until the contractor gets his last 2 pedestals in there, because he's going to end up ripping my work out of the ground just putting them in. But so at that point, to me, it's no different than any other project. So I don't tackle tearing up a street, and I put 1 or 2 crews on putting meters in. I've already spoke to Corey, that I know, who's been on an email. You've met him, Patrick, about heading it up as far as being the contact or setting up the appointments. He's doing the lead and copper. He's great with the computer.
He's come out with very knowledgeable as well too.
Yeah,
I'm very confident.
so he could be my point guy as far as coordinating, scheduling, and
I like that there's
it's-
even talk of a point person, because I feel like that is a necessity.
Yeah, and see where it takes us. I mean, in this current budget, I'd have to pull it. I'd have to look. I know I reduced it. It's probably 50,000. we put in there for
I think
water.
that's what you told us a couple of weeks ago.
So we could certainly get started, and if, you know, maybe that'll carry us to a point where we realize where the water tower's at. And maybe at that time, if we don't have money left over, we I don't know, bite the bullet and see where we can come up with the other funds to do it, other than paying the 800,000 to 1.2 to.
Yeah.
Well, certainly identify what plan A is gonna be, but also be careful and have a plan B in place.
Well, we could still keep this guy, you know, say we worked, I can't see, winter's gonna be tough, as you would know, Paul. If they got a problem inside the house with a valve, and we've gotta find the curb stop and shut it off,
You're
that's,
gonna have to steam it.
winter time is our hurdle.
Yeah, I mean, we realistically could
You
not
guys
start
won't
until
problem.
April. Would be the soonest, I mean.
For those guys,
Right,
yeah.
well,
I mean,
even our own guys.
you could start, I wouldn't want them to start, because if we get tied up trying to find curb stops in the winter, chip away frozen dirt to get at them, that's gonna be time consuming.
Yeah, if, it is, so. I have
But as far as,
There was one other piece of information
go
that we
ahead.
should share, which is that along the lines of what Lori had been
Yeah,
proposing a month and a half or 2 months ago, they work with a company out of Texas, I have the
I
notes
got
here
it.
somewhere, that also does kind of a lease-to-own arrangement.
correct.
And so we asked them to come back to us with the numbers on how that option would work with that company that they've worked with extensively. I
This
guess.
is just, this is just
Government
a
Capital
vendor.
Corp.
No,
It's a finance corporation.
finance, it's Government Capital Corporation.
So
and
basically,
it's
it would be a way to
leasing.
finance this, but, you know, in essence, one way or another, what we're doing is paying interest.
Yeah.
At
Right,
that
oh,
point.
yeah.
So it's not my favorite option.
Yeah.
But
And just for speed and convenience.
Exactly.
Is there a balance that
Yeah.
we can be happy with?
that would only be used to pay for Tyco and the backflow.
Tie sales.
Tie sales.
Yes, that's what I don't
Not,
think.
not to pay for our own staff to do it.
I suspect that's true, but I don't know.
But you mentioned before, Tom, about perhaps to keep some costs down, not paying someone $50 an hour in insurance, so to go to seasonal help with one professional to keep some costs down. We want to keep safety with 2 people going in as well, right?
Well, you'd have to have 2 people going in, you'd have to.
But that to
They
me would
work,
seem to be cost effective. if
they
you
work
wanted
the
to-
same way, they send 2 people.
Two
to-
teams of 2 always.
Yeah. Just for, you know.
So, Paul, I want to hear what runs through your mind. Like, what are the warning signs for you?
The warning signs are the city's history. I do not, and this is not a dig at Tom and the crews, but we were given a list of everything else they work on. I think we need to take a little dose of reality here and not flatter ourselves that we think we can get the numbers that a contractor is going to
I
get.
mean, in terms of pulling off 7 or 8 of these a day.
Oh, even
100%
five, even
focus.
5. I mean, even bringing in and I'm not saying the contractor's the right way, but even bringing in a contractor to do it, Tom's guys are tied up with the contractor, finding curb stops, making sure the curb stops work, shutting stuff off. They're not just out there on their own. So you got to look at how long it's, you know, the initial blurb of meters that were installed, and then the years that went by with no installations. And I have a great reservation that we can actually do it.
So who's responsible for scheduling if we go with a third party? Are
They
gonna
are.
do it?
They do it.
So they chase these people down?
They chase them down.
And they're 100% focused on that, nothing else, where Tom's crew would have to break off to go deal with an
Oh,
emergency or something.
I mean, if honestly, if you look at you just look back in the annual report of the last few years of what Public Works Department has done as far as grants and projects. currently, we're not seeking any grants. We're not attacking any projects because financially, we're not in that situation anyways. The past few years, we haven't had time to do much of anything. If you look at all the big projects we've done. I'm saying right now could be a good opportunity for the Public Works Department. And hey, if we spend till fall and we haven't gotten anywhere, then or if we've put in 100 or 200 meters between now and then, we've just lessened the cost it's gonna cost us after the fact.
You know, so there's there needs to be a contact person, there needs to be a point person.
Quota.
That's a quota, somebody that's answerable.
Yeah.
Now, this is going to sting a little bit for some people, but we're also talking about when you cannot compare the production of a bargaining unit staff to the production of a let's get it done and make money staff. It's just not the same. You know, you've got breaks, you're not going to get the output. So I'm willing to try it, but I think it's got to be we're starting a trial here, we're ending a trial here,
And then we
and
evaluate.
if you guys haven't met it, somebody's feet are on the fryer, and we're moving on.
How old is the,
Lori's been
I'd
trying to do
I'd like to add on to that you are indicating that you are in a good position to step up for the city to do this. So why not give that opportunity?
Oh,
And what you said with the deadline,
right.
again, there's only so much you can do, so I don't know how much
Well,
you want to put under the feet.
You also gotta compare
But
apples to
but
apples.
within that, yeah.
To
Within that.
see, not to say that, I've got a couple guys that have been installing water meters. The rest of the guys have never installed a water meter. It's no different than this company. Like, he's got some seasoned guys that come in, and that's all they do for a living. You can't compare my guys to them by any stretch. But,
Look, I
again,
think
I'm saying
we
I'm
should give the
offering.
city the first shot.
we certainly
Now,
got
we're gonna
plenty
get
to
people
do. We don't
excited,
have to do this.
But if we're gonna get people excited about getting into houses and stuff, we gotta get into houses and do it.
Right.
So
We're gonna lose
Jennifer's
that momentum.
raised a hand, and I know that Ann and Lori would both like to speak as well. Go ahead, Jennifer.
okay, I think, given what boy, that's really strange what you're hearing.
Are you getting echo?
Sorry. Yeah, are you?
No,
No.
it's not too bad.
Okay, then I'll continue talking and not listen. I think given what we have to begin with the staff, with the meters already in the budget, I think we go with that first. If we do a deadline, then we do a deadline. But I think we have to save the taxpayers' money by going for the least expensive cost first. And unfortunately, that is our individual staff, be them seasoned or not. They aren't going to install 6, 7, 8 meters a day. That's for sure. But they're there, we're paying their bill. If they can get their regular work and get some meters installed, let's go for it. I did go over the meter list, by the way, the request list, and there are 270 some odd on that. There are about 50 that might still be valid. A lot of that is the people have changed, sold their houses, the addresses don't match the names. And unfortunately, I was going to send it to you, but I'm in Massachusetts right now, and I don't know where it is on my computer. My computer went bonkers last night, so. And that's all I have to say.
Thanks, Jennifer. Lori's been trying to get in.
I just want to say, first of all, I think, and it's been a while since I've talked to her, but the farm credit leasing program would cover the meters and the labor in a financing deal. It would cover.
Which is true of the one in Texas
Right.
also.
So if that's,
Yeah.
that's the same,
Yeah.
so that's a good-
You'd be looking at financing between $800,000 and $1 million probably.
Yeah. So
To
the
pay
other
for
thing,
the whole thing.
the other thing I want to say, and I appreciate you bringing that up, Paul. And I really do appreciate you said, Tom, that, you guys have done a lot of work. You have done I mean, you know, a water tower, all the other things that you guys are doing. As someone who's been watching this for a long time, I am a little skeptical, but I'm trying to be open, and I think that you know, given an opportunity, maybe this is a time over the next few months into the fall to allow your guys to start that project, to see where we're going. I mean, maybe this is the next big thing that you guys have. It's the history, like Paul said, it's just a history.
Right.
You know, why it got dropped, you know, like I said, the other things are great.
Well-
We just gotta get it done in order to find where the leakages are and find out the problems, and there are people complaining about water bills, so.
Well, if we
Yeah.
want to really truly get into history, and I'm not trying to make excuses, but 2 years ago I had 16 employees,
Absolutely.
and I've replaced 11 of them in the last 2 years. Jason's only been with us at the plant for 3 years. They're all brand new at the wastewater plant, so it's a learning curve. But again, the council can delegate me to do any project, and we take on, any grant, most every grant that comes to the city that has anything to do with infrastructure, we're doing the work. So it ties us up.
Right.
Currently, we have nothing other than finishing up the causeway. So to me, timing wise, it's a perfect scenario. Will we put that many in? Maybe not, but even if I put in 200 by winter, we're 200 less,
That's a
or 100 less, or whatever,
Which,
at that cost,
Right.
we're only helping the situation.
right, no, and I agree with that, but I don't wanna get 2 years down the road and we're still in this, let's see what the city can do scenario.
I don't either.
Yeah,
Well-
we all agree about that.
So,
We all
Let's
agree.
keep in mind, you said that company can't come in until next year anyway, so Tom's got a good, clear
We have
shot.
to
when-
line him up though, I'm sure. 'cause
right,
it's-
but we have to commit, I mean, we can't
Well,
just
I would
call them
dare
up
to
in
say
April and
someone
say, all right, we're
exercised-
ready.
Yeah.
Set up Plan B while
Right.
he's working on Plan A.
Right,
So we're ready at that point, so if that does happen, we've already got everything in place.
right, no, absolutely.
I'm
But-
an absolute
Ann's been trying to
fanatic
get
about
into it.
giving the city the first shot.
Oh, I didn't see it, thanks, Brittany.
Hi.
Go ahead.
I just had one brief question, Paul, and then one of Tom. Paul, the $800,000 figure, or the 800 to 1,000 per meter, does that include the cost of the meter, or is the cost of the meter coming from us another $500 on top of that?
So, I'm gonna be honest, we need to verify that.
Yeah, because it could be 15.
I thought I heard them say pretty clearly that they can install a unit, total cost,
Yeah.
between $800 and $1,000 each.
Right,
Yeah.
I just wanna,
Be sure.
Okay.
right, I wanna send an email and have it come back in writing.
Okay, and the second thing is, Tom, in the past, with respect to grants and always sort of saying, well, we could do in-kind work on it, and that would, you know, be our fair share of this. I think that sort of began to overwhelm how much your three divisions wound up having to do, and sometimes put them into overtime mode. Will this put your people into
I wouldn't
overtime
put-
mode
I
at a
wouldn't
time
put-
when we can't really afford a lot of overtime?
We haven't worked overtime since this past winter. If they put in an hour or two, it's because we're finishing something up, and that was it. There's been no overtime.
And this will not
I
avoid,
wouldn't be suggesting overtime, because that's not beneficial to where we're at, clearly.
right.
So,
Pam?
Supporting, saving the public, us, money is a great idea. However, the budget has included $50,000 for meters for the last several years, none of which has been used for meters.
have you seen the budget from last year, Pam?
I'm
We
sorry,
spent almost every bit of that $70,000.
great. We certainly didn't the year before that, or the year before that, or the year before that, right? it's great to be saving us money, but no, if the money's already in the budget, it's gonna go somewhere.
What's the point exactly, Pam?
And my point is, it's great to have a focus on saving us money, but if it's not gonna save us in the long run, then that's not a smart way of going. And I don't know if that is or it isn't, but we've certainly seen over the years that the meters haven't gone in.
Right. So what I'm hearing is a pretty healthy level of caution
Yes.
in terms of the recommendation would be made to council to say, let's stagger this. Let's start with, right now, tomorrow, we can make, in 2 weeks, the council can make a decision to say, we want to prioritize the $50,000, if that's what the number is, in the budget, buy that many meters, and give the Department of Public Works whatever amount of time we think it is to install
Right.
however many, I think it's probably 100 meters or maybe 80 meters, whatever it is, that we can buy, figure out what our time is and say, okay, here's the goal, let's see if you can do it. And if they can,
Right.
at the end of that process, I think as somebody pointed out, at that point, we actually have data about we know what the cost of the water tower was, and we make a new decision. And as Carl has pointed out, I think rightfully, no one's gonna be able to get to us until spring anyway.
Right.
So if we can get a jump on it and get the first 400 done,
But we need to be
If we can
working
do
on
it,
it.
fantastic.
I hear the caution, I do, and y'all have a long history of
So
talking about this, so.
and like, again, this is just, I don't want this false image of, with Tom saying that projects are wrapping up and, there's more time and stuff. Well, I want everybody to remember, we have a page and a half of daily duties that they have to do, So those don't go away just because the other projects went away. So we need to set our expectations accordingly. And then decide if the Tom and his crews can meet those expectations we set, then are we willing for the meter installations to take that long, or do we want them done now so we can start addressing other issues? There's a lot of balls in the air here. So
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is, I actually think it's longer, given the conversation we had this morning.
yeah.
We're looking at the middle of next summer. If we found all the money to finance this and pulled the trigger on it right away, the earliest we would see a completed project would be a year from now,
And still nothing done in between that.
right? It would start in April and finish 4 months later, according to what they told us this morning.
Yeah.
So that's the fastest we're talking about getting it done, and that assumes we know where to go find 800 million or 800,000.
That's kind of what my question is. Why are we even talking about getting these guys contracted or prepped if we don't have any clue where we're going to get this money?
Yeah, the only other option at this point, there's no chance, in my estimation, that we can go get government funding in less than a year. It would take a year starting now, probably longer, to arrange for any kind of significant grant to finish this. So the only other way to finish the project, as far as I can tell, besides the potential savings in the cost of the water tower project to build, right? Besides that, the only other thing I can think of is what Lori has proposed, which is the long-term lease.
One of the two long-term
Exactly.
options. Yeah.
And a long-term lease, would that have to go to the voters because it's more than a year?
I don't know. It's an interesting question because you're leasing to own, not borrowing to buy, right? I don't know. Some lawyer somewhere is going to have to tell us what they think
Has
about
there
that.
been an identifiable, perhaps payment back number that we can toss around to balance, make it make sense?
Not yet. We don't know. Oh, you mean in terms of
To pay
what
that back,
the water and sewer,
What their yearly payment's gonna be.
Right.
I
That
don't
would
know.
help make a
It's a good
decision
question.
of, this compared to this, and how much.
I mean, here, my bottom line, y'all, is I've been listening to you for 3 months, and I am convinced by you that we cannot create a billing system that is confidence inspiring and that we can use to actually plan 5 years out, which we need to be able to do even for basic funding mechanisms right at this point. We can't do any of that if we don't complete the water meter project,
Right.
right? So I don't care if it pays back or not, we gotta find the money and put them in,
Yeah.
one way or another.
Yeah.
So
Can I interrupt?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Okay, as something slightly off subject, but remember, our water meters that have been installed are timing out. And I think Tom will agree, some of those are going to have to be replaced. So thinking we can turn that, whatever it is, $50,000 into all new meters, it's probably not rational.
So actually, we had a good conversation with these guys this morning, Jennifer, and we asked exactly that question. And they said that these things are typically warranted now for 20 years, and I think that's what we said ours are, right?
Yeah.
And they said that they are not seeing failure rates at 20 years. And when it does fail, it's not, the first question I asked was, is this it failed and it flooded everybody's basement and now the city's facing all kinds of lawsuits? That's not what failure means. There are systems built into these things so that what failure means is you're no longer getting good readings and it tells you that you're not, right? So he was saying that, he's counting on a solid, anywhere between 18 and 23 years on these, and that they do not all fail at once. He said it's not like, some things where, oh yeah, it was made with these components and therefore they all run out at the same time. So he said you can build that into your budget and plan year by year on a certain number that you're gonna have to replace every year as you go.
But until we hit the
And that's-
20-year mark, ours are warranted.
Correct.
Which is how far away?
5 years.
Yeah, we've still got 5 years before we
And
get
some go out, some can go up to 30 years. So you're not gonna replace it unless it's ready to be
Exactly.
replaced.
And the good part is it's already plumbed in too, so it's just about replacing that.
Oh, replacing it's quick.
Yeah, so it's
So-
real easy.
Do we just come up with a quota, a time frame, and a recommendation? It sounds like we don't really have a choice other than to try for a couple months.
That's what I was gonna propose, the
You
same
know, like,
thing.
it's not gonna, we can still move forward with exploring.
Yeah,
Backflow.
absolutely.
And at this point, we have the 50,000, and then hopefully within 6 weeks, we'll know whether we have any other money.
And 6 weeks will give us time to do a voluntary, call for meter volunteers, whatever.
Well, we
Plumbing
have,
is lined up.
we have the 50,000
Time
if-
is lined up.
the vote passes.
No, we have the 50,000 regardless.
Oh, we have,
That's built into the budget that's already been approved.
yeah, I can spend that right now.
But do you have the cash in the bank?
Yeah, we now have, with great thanks to a lot of people, right? We have solved the immediate short-term cash flow problem. So we're not gonna go happy-go-lucky spending,
Right.
but if it's a reasonable expenditure that was built into the budget, we can spend it at this
Okay.
point. Lori wanted to speak again.
So, I'm gonna ask this question. I know I've asked it before, and I'm gonna ask it again. Is it at all possible to think that we could put out a plea through the state of Vermont, New Hampshire, whatever, for some retired plumber somewhere who knows how to do this job, for a temporary employees, 2-3 temporary employees to come in? Is it at all possible to think that that might be a better budget-wise situation to work with our current staff that might have the experience that could come in for this short-term project and see where we go? I don't know. Sometimes I just think that we forget that there might be some retired person out there that really just wants to go back to work for 6 months or something. And
Problem with that really is how are we gonna fund it? Because it's unbudgeted.
Right.
The current staff is budgeted.
yes,
I've gotta pay them anyways, no matter if I'm digging holes or putting in meters. I like the idea.
well, I
But-
really am thinking more just like an extra hand. Sometimes that extra person out there might be just the assistance that you need, or someone that can step in and do the administrative part of that job instead of one of your guys doing it. Someone else coming in that can do the administrative part, schedule the things, get the people.
They already identified Corey Marcoux would do that. So we
Right, but I
do
mean,
that out of
it's
staff.
Part of the reason I want Corey to do it, because Corey headed up the lead and copper, which is still an issue for me. So he's still gonna track all that, which is critical.
That is
information
one
for
thing
us.
that these guys are not gonna do. is your lead cover.
Actually, it's part of their inspection
Is it?
form, yeah.
Really?
And do they
They'd
provide that
They'd
to
have
you?
all the information. They'd gather it all,
They
no
gather
doubt. That
everything.
would be
They
awesome,
do, okay,
but
okay.
Yep.
again,
Yeah, he brought in his tablet, showed us, you get a complete inspection and documentation for every installation,
Yeah.
everything,
Yeah.
including the pictures, and it's all turned over to the city at the end.
And then Corey would process that.
we
and-
have the process.
I think one other question that I would want to ask if we were going to go down this road is I'd like to do a little investigation on our insurance policy. Because one thing that is clear from the conversation we had this morning is that one thing we get from TI or whatever they're called
Yeah.
is a solid, they'll stand behind whatever happens.
Yeah.
So if their workmanship fails, they're insured for it. So if we're gonna do this, we got to make sure that we can stand behind our own workmanship.
Right.
And that's a question of talking, we have to call VLCT and have a conversation about what our coverages are. It's not, at the end of the day, any different than anything else Tom's team does, except that all of a sudden you've got a whole bunch of people individually who theoretically could have a concern. So it's certainly a question worth asking, I think.
So to spare us more time of the same conversation over and over, I propose, again, when we move with Plan A, the Department of Public Works, do an initial project, and while that's moving on, we also set up Plan B, getting our ducks in a row for that. We need to make a start. The time, the money, and the personnel are lining up right now, and an opportunity for good things.
So what are we looking for? How much time, how many
We
meters?
want to set up
Yeah.
what our deadlines are, what our
Right.
expectations are.
Right,
So
and
can
that's
we
what
move
I'm
to that?
asking.
Can
That's
we
what
move
I'm
to
asking.
that, so we can start getting him moving?
What do you think is realistic, Tom, in terms of getting these guys focused in this direction?
I mean, honestly, I'm
Early
not
August?
sure. I mean, to get started and get some of the guys trained in it. I mean, I've got two at the wastewater good at it, but I can't steal them all the time. I would certainly want one of them to be on one of the teams. I do have one current employee that did work for a plumber for a few years, so I'm leaning that he's probably the most savvy as far as doing some of the installs too. But again, starting is going to be slow till we get in a rhythm, and I'm sure that Paul, the contractor, when he hires a new guy, there's always a learning curve.
Oh, yeah.
But if I had two crews going and I could put the first few days, put 6 in a day, get started, and then see where it takes us.
So do we want to say 100 meters by Thanksgiving? Is that too late in the fall?
What's the latest you think you can be successful? in the
Weather-wise,
season?
I mean,
We're good till
I'd
January.
be good right up till December, January, before things really start to freeze. The problem's gonna be in the wintertime, that's why they don't like to do it either, is because, yeah, they'd be in the house and we'd be outside trying to locate curb stops. And most all of them are, you've got one on your lawn, it's buried. You're not gonna hit it with a mower, so it's gonna be buried underneath, an inch or two of grass and sod. I mean, we certainly maybe come later in the fall here, we can get our list of people ahead of ourselves and we go out and pre-locate
That's what I
them,
was gonna say, yeah. Good thinking.
which we probably have to do anyways.
Right.
And not every house is
Days.
gonna have to shut it off. If they have a good system in the house, you're all set.
Yeah.
But
So-
not every house is like that.
As I do the math, like even if you only put one team on it and they did 3 a day, let's just keep it, pretty low, right? If they average 3 a day,
30
that's
work days.
60 a month, right? 20 days a month. So we'd be looking at a month and a half to 2 months tops.
So Halloween more than.
So yeah, I think we're talking mid to late October, we'd want to say, okay, have we hit it with the first 100? Right? And at that
And you
point, we
should-
make a
you
decision
should
about whether
surpass
to
that by
try and
then.
contract out or
So-
do something different.
You were saying five a day,
I was saying 3
3 a day.
3 a day.
Just to be safe, because he's identified he's gonna start slow, so let's give him a reasonable
So
expectation.
15 a week.
15 a week is 60 a month, right?
Yeah.
Right? So to do 100, we'd be looking at roughly 2 months, a little more or a little less.
Which kind of lines up with everything we discussed.
And that-
And if I do more than that, it's gravy.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
would ask one question. Does the contract depend on how many? Like if all of a sudden we went from 700 to 500, is that gonna change their pricing at all?
Sure it would.
And that's
Not,
where,
I mean,
not dramatically, Lori. They were talking about, they just did 120, what, a year ago or 2 years ago in Newport Center.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
They did-
they'll come and do smaller
Right,
amounts.
they did Newport Center, they did Burke, they've done
Oh, okay.
Colchester, they've
So it's
done.
really the price per, it's not a, up to this point. it's one
Exactly.
price, and at
No.
that point, it's another.
I'll be prorated to
I
how
was,
many meters you
they
have.
typically send in a team and go and rent an Airbnb, and they were saying, and we try to spend our money locally, and I said, well, heck, if you come to Newport, we'll put together a brigade that'll make all your meals, all your evening meals for you, and we'll cook for you to keep our prices low. And they actually were like, huh, that's actually kind of a selling point. That could be pretty cool.
It kind of depends on, as he said, the dimensional diagram of what it is we are gonna, what we want for components. We've been putting in the bare minimal. If we have to put in a double check, that means you gotta put in a thermal expansion tank. The tanks alone are about $150. So his initial cost, if you're doing full blown, was $1,500.
Well, because this dimensional diagram should be done before before even your guys hit the field.
Mm-hmm.
So.
What's it take to do that, Paul? Like, what are we talking about? The dimensional diagram piece.
So I will reach out to my previous employer and see if I can get a couple of my designs. I don't have AutoCAD, so I can't.
I do.
I don't want to.
Three versions of it.
The real question really is, and we haven't been installing double checks, is do we want to put a double check on it, or are we just going as
So-
cheaply as we can?
I think Paul made a good point that you don't know what the future is going to bring. I think our design, our diagram needs to have the space built in for a double check, so that if something is passed, and in watching the water industry over the years, it's only a matter of time because of all the stuff happening in residence now. I mean,
So for those
We
who
don't
don't
wanna
want to
have
this
to go
morning,
back
we're
and
talking
replumb.
about check valves that would keep a disaster from happening when
Right.
a system fails.
right. So I think we have to build in
The space so that we can
the
add the check valves.
space in our design so that we can shut it off, put in a double check, move on.
Because you can't put in a double check without the expansion tank. Do I understand that correctly?
Right, but I don't believe that
I'm sorry.
typically the way water regulations have passed, if I have to believe, and politicians can prove us all wrong, but if they pass something saying that a water system was required to have a double check at a meter site, more than likely the expansion tank would be at the cost of the resident, not of the municipality.
Uh-huh.
So that it would need to be coordination. We
Yes.
need to install this, you need to have a plumber install
But maybe
this.
we don't want to set a precedent that we're going to pay for all the expansion tanks.
Correct, we do not want to do
Because
that.
that's different, because you're actually putting the expansion tank
In,
in the house in a different
Right.
location.
right,
So there's more
I see.
plumbing thought that goes into
Oh, yeah.
something like
Yeah.
that.
Well, I was gonna
Whereas
say
now,
that-
now we're talking a different animal here.
You gotta go to every house twice. One to see what you've got to work with, and second to put it back in.
that's why if you just do your design based on the ability to put in a double check in the future, you don't have to go through and reinvent the wheel at every resident when regulations change.
So we do the design, we cost out the material right now,
Yep.
and we say, okay, how far does $50,000 go?
Exactly.
And then we know how many we're actually asking Tom
Yep.
Sugar to put in.
Yep.
Because
I
that's
like
the
it.
only sure money that we have
Right?
at this stage,
Yep.
so.
And it's a forward movement.
Yeah, yeah, we're back to actually what I heard folks asking for our last meeting, which is, let's start with the actual folks who have been asking for this.
I'm gonna keep them thinking while we're here.
I feel good about it.
Me too.
Jennifer wants to ask a question.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
Well, no, I was going to make an offer, which is, having reviewed the list of people who signed up 2017 through, I don't know, 2019 or something, I will go through those and we can call those people first and then ask for more people. That way we'll cover the base of people who asked before. There are some notations, so I think some of these people somehow did not qualify. And I think we can summarize the list, and Tom and Corey could go over it and then, start with calling those people first, then put out a plea.
Love
That'll
it.
help expedite too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Corey makes that call. But Corey
That
doesn't
sounds
necessarily,
like
but
the
Corey
scope.
doesn't necessarily have phone numbers unless it's on that list
Well,
already.
yeah, that's,
Their phone numbers, there's some phone numbers on the list. Almost every single one has a phone number, whether they're valid,
Yeah.
whatever, 7 years later.
Does the
Yeah.
city have the budget to get a white pages subscription? Because that's how I do it. It's
I think what we can
$22
do
a month.
is,
I think we can afford $22 a month on this project.
It's worth having. It makes it a hell of a lot easier.
Sounds good to me.
what you can do is sign up for 2 months, and if we have the list with the people's names, we can just quickly go through and see if we've got phone numbers. As I say, that's something mindless I can do. I just need to have a computer that doesn't eat this stuff once it's done.
Okay, I think we've got it. So, John, that's a recommendation we're gonna take to the city council at the next meeting?
That we authorize Tom to do what he can do with the $50,000.
Well, I guess one question is, Paul, can we come up with a drawing and and a potential price per unit and actually give a number to city council of how many units we think we can afford to buy on 50 grand?
Well, I believe I can come up with a drawing. Tom will need to come up with a price.
yeah. I'll have to look back, because when we were installing the double checks, to see how it was we were doing it.
Yeah.
I'm sure I must have a picture and figure it out that way, and then I can come up with a list of parts.
Right. Oh,
I'd be curious, I'm gonna reach back out to Paul too, because one of the ones he showed me didn't have a corner horn. They just did the install. I'm kinda curious as to,
yeah, I think we should have.
I mean, if you can take out a part that I don't need.
Right.
And in some cases, we don't use them anyways, because if you're doing a
So you're saying,
one,
Paul, have 3 different or 4 different drawings for different kinds of
Right.
situations?
Right, 'cause
Right, well, yeah, because you never know what you're gonna run into.
Right,
Because some's gonna probably require some.
for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. Like you said with the hot water tank, come into the house, he goes up onto it with the main water, into the meter, and then down probably the other side of it, and then back into the.
Okay, so let me just throw a little wrench into the works, just to make sure we're fully cognizant here. We were also talking about trying to prioritize doing inspections for lead.
This is gonna be part of that. I gotta put a crew back on it.
Right, but we can't, I mean, the inspection shouldn't take more than 15 minutes per house, right? Should be able to go in.
But the question is whether the people are gonna let us in the house.
And whether people are home during the hours that the.
Right, but I guess what I'm saying is I think we're talking about 2 different tasks. If you get in and you're working on an install, great, you can do the lead inspection. But that doesn't, we can't wait for those 50 to get done before we do the rest of the lead inspections we need to do, right? So we're really talking about a crew that would work on these installs and a crew that would take 3 mornings a week or something like that and just keep knocking on doors, doing the lead inspections at the same time this summer.
Yes.
Could that be a lesser crew, not a more experienced crew, or
Well,
someone trained just
the
for that?
inspections, anybody can do it, but it takes 2 people.
Right, but
So you're
I'm
not
saying,
sending one
Yep.
person into a
Yep.
home.
but we're not sending $100 an hour guy, $200 an hour guys there doing it. You send one and one
Well, if I start this summer, I could possibly use some of my summer help
Right.
as that second person. But later on,
Yeah.
once they go back to school, I'm gonna
Right.
lose all that help.
But I just don't want to lose track of Paul's urgency
Right.
about getting compliant on the lead inspections.
I actually found my meter pit designs.
Before you know it, you'll be excited about using AutoCAD with Patrick again.
I have not found my residential.
Do you work for camp?
So in terms of a recommendation,
Water.
first point would be authorizing preparation of specifications to cover the most common meter situations.
I suspect we'll have those by the time we go to council meeting in a week and a half.
Okay, so the second part would be essentially to authorize Tom's department to start the installation process and go as far as they can on the 50,000.
And give them a goal. I think the idea of saying, we want this to be done in a time-limited period, because part of what we're trying to do is determine our capacity for the future.
So, well, given that the time it's going to take before we know whether we have any other money to work with, is it reasonable for 50,000, is it feasible to say October 15th, say?
That's what I would do. That's the number in my head.
Or give a buffer at November 1st.
And then, we can get there, and if they're within 5 of meeting it, we can talk about that, right? But I think we need to give a goal, and if they blow through them, fabulous, right? Because then we have a new conversation going on about, well, did we actually save any money on the water tower, and can we just keep on moving? Right? Which would be amazing. So we got nothing to lose by making an ambitious goal.
Agreed.
Realistically ambitious. How's that for the language?
So let's say they train for the next 3 weeks. So they kick off everything on August 4th.
What day is the council meeting?
Oh, we got time.
No, I'm saying after that.
15th.
They can only move after.
We have another council meeting on the 21st of July.
Oh, this is a
Does that feel realistic?
That's
You need a week of
180
vacation in
meters
there.
from August 4th.
Okay.
That's 180 meters from August 4th until October 15th.
At 3 a day?
3 days.
3 a day for a team that does nothing but this.
Yeah.
Unless we find water tower money.
Right.
Yeah.
You up for that? A lot of meters.
Yeah, we don't authorize, we cover Tom a little bit and say, it is the council's desire to see, right? We give a little bit of strong language in here so that Tom can say, hey, I'm just telling you what the council told me.
We've been voluntold.
Is that realistic, getting guys up and going by?
We've
August?
already been talking about it. I know the last meeting I kind of mentioned, once I get past these couple of projects, get past the 4th, I'd have the capacity. I mean, the city's in a situation here where I'd normally be
Sure.
looking at what roads I'm gonna tear up and start working on, and we really don't have, we
The money
have,
to do
we
that
have
right
money, but we don't wanna spend excess money that we shouldn't be spending.
Right, better
Put it
places.
that way, but.
Tom, do we
So-
have meters? Do we have meters, or you gotta order them?
We order as we need them. Again, with a 20-year life of the battery, you don't want to be sitting, you don't want to order 3 years worth of meters and have them sit on the shelf for 3 years.
No,
So
do we
we'll-
have things to get started at the beginning of August?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So really, I'm hearing 2 recommendations. One is, the first one is say, let's put a full-time crew on doing nothing but water meters and tell them we want to see a minimum of those 100 meters installed by October 15th. And we'd love it if they get a full head of steam going and we can go faster, right? And then the second crew is trying to complete the lead inspections by the end of the summer, whatever that means, right? Mid-September or something.
Oh, by the end of the summer? Wow.
Yeah, we have,
That's pretty
there's
aggressive.
a deadline on that one.
Well, I mean, what is compliance, right? We've been out of compliance for a long time.
Well, actually, no, we're, right now, we're within a timeline with the state EPA.
Really?
Right,
I
yes,
misunderstood.
we're going to be out.
Yeah,
there to
That's
find
my
some
understanding. I don't wanna drag my feet in the next year or two and find out that I'm not, but.
Then why does it say in our consumer competence report that we are out of compliance?
We were out of compliance because I didn't meet the October 15th deadline.
Right. So did they extend?
Currently, right now, we are compliant. We still have to find everything out there on our side and in the house, but we have, I certainly don't want to drag my feet because it's.
Yeah, I'm not hearing you say that. I just,
No,
but I
yeah,
want
yeah.
to better understand what
Right.
compliant means.
So how did we go from non-compliant to compliant when we didn't finish?
Nobody's finished. Well, I should say nobody. I'm sure.
So
there's-
did they
I'm sure there's
extend the
entities-
deadline?
I'm sure there's entities out there that are 100% complete, but I'd be shocked. But no, the reason I was out of compliance is because we didn't meet the October 15th deadline.
Right.
Which was to do a certain number of inspections by
No, that
date.
was to send in to the state whether you were done or not. See, we were on the impression, I was, that it had to be done. There was no way we were physically gonna finish it. But by the time we talked with the state of Vermont, said, no, you needed to submit it whether you were done or not. That's why I was out of compliance.
So all they really wanted was a progress report.
Pretty much.
So when is the drop? dead?
November
We've got-
1st, 2027.
Yeah.
Compliance date for lead and copper rule improvements, which includes requirements for the service line replacement plans and other provisions.
Well, that's a very different understanding than I
Yeah.
had.
Yeah.
That's good news.
Yeah.
No, we've got time, but again, I don't wanna drag.
Right, I don't hear you
This is-
recommending we drag our feet. So,
Okay.
There's still a bunch out there, even on our side, that realistically, probably the only way we may find some of them, we've kind of talked about this, is use our vac truck and just suck down on the curb stop, see what either side of the line is.
Because you don't think you're gonna get in?
Yeah. Or how do you tell what's on our side? if it's
But we
not
gotta
documented?
get in to put it, we gotta get in to see,
Well, for the meter part, we
Right.
can, but say even on our side, Paul,
Yeah.
if there's nothing documented on our side, we've never touched the road, I have no idea what our line is made of. I'm
Right.
guessing galvanized, but the only way we really would know, we'd suck down right on the curb stop, either side of it, and we'd see the pipe, their side and our side.
would you have to do that every service address?
Yeah.
Or can you spot check them in a neighborhood?
No, you can't do that.
It's all about the
You have to
individual.
document every one of them.
Wow.
and then,
Every one.
On both sides of the
Both
curb stop.
sides, so it's not, so we got 1895 connections, but it's twice that.
You gotta double
It's
it.
both sides,
Right.
our side and their side. So it's a
And it's
lot.
hard to
because
tell
we
two
don't have
different-
as-bills,
We do, I'm not saying we don't, we have a very good card system, but did it say what the material was? Not,
so
typically no.
has
Anything
anybody,
in recent 40 years, yes. You know, we've been putting copper in.
so do
before
we
I-
have anybody scouring the card system to?
We've kinda got to that on our
Okay.
side of things.
Okay.
Yeah,
Can I ask an odd question?
sure.
Is there a device like an ultrasound or a metal detector that you can put over those and tell the density of the metals you have, so you don't have to dig, you just put.
Put 6 feet in the ground?
Laid off. You know
Not that I
what I'm saying?
know of.
Well,
Yeah,
well,
I mean, we have a locator if we-
Tell you what you're looking at.
Right.
just
We
that
got a
something's there.
locator that if it's working well and you get a good ground, it will trace a line and
Right.
roughly can kind of tell you the depth of it, but it won't tell you what the material.
Because I know some metal detectors will give you a tone for ferrous or non-ferrous metals and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And then if it's galvanized and you're backing around it, you better hope that the pipe stays together.
Yeah.
So you have to,
Because then you got another project. Right.
You're full of good cheer.
That's
That's all Paul's here for.
Been there, seen it.
Yeah, I'm sure you have.
So.
Okay.
But I don't think that continuing onward with this lead and copper issue requires any council action.
It's all right,
Oh,
it
no,
doesn't sound like it
that's-
does.
it's just.
I was misunderstanding the problem.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just, Tom just keeps picking away at it.
Okay. Yeah, Lori.
This just may move us into the next thing, but, we have people on the list who want water meters. But if I'm not mistaken, we're also looking at, this is a mandatory thing. And you might get into a neighborhood and one of those people has decided they don't want it. And so we've got to, while we're getting to those 50 or whatever, 200 or whatever it is, we've also got to tell people what we're doing and why we're doing it and why it's being mandated. Because again, I keep getting questions about this money that we're asking for, and we've got to tell people. I had someone today, and I said, this is kind of what I understand is the plan.
Well,
So
I mean,
we gotta be able to tell.
Correct me if
them.
I'm wrong, but it seems to me that that's a problem that's 2 to 3 months down the road. Because we've got 50 names, or 100 names, or whatever it is, maybe 50, 60 names.
Start with.
We know we can get started. You're right, that whatever we do is gonna demand some public education, some community education, so.
We do also have a certain amount of people that we have their phone numbers and emails with the lead and copper that we could reach out to that don't have meters too, if we get to a point where we're looking.
Where we need some more to do.
And at that point, I think it's gonna be public anyways, we can advertise, we can throw it on the sign.
Love it.
We've got crews out, please call us, you
Mhm.
know? That's the biggest thing, is the coordination of people getting a hold of us and not us trying to chase them.
Does mailers make sense in this instance?
At some point, maybe.
But one thing she said that did kind of sit with me was we need to have some sort of like way to track refusals and ways to essentially levy a fee for
That's
refusing.
what Paul's been saying.
So like how does your crew say, okay, this person said no, Jim, $50 added on each quarter. I don't know how it works. Like that's an ordinance thing, but I don't want these guys are gonna hit that roadblock eventually.
Yeah, and that's part of updating the ordinance and looking at the fee schedule.
So we can't really deal with it until we actually deal with the ordinance, and so Tom's crew is just gonna have to go with the path of least resistance folks for now.
For now.
Yeah, which we wanna start with anyway.
Yeah.
We've
Exactly.
also, part of the lead and copper, have to document if people refuse to let us in.
Yeah.
Because eventually there may be a few that just flat out won't want us in the house to see what it is, so in the state size, we need to document that.
Paul's got his answer to that. We turn the water off.
Well, and I did get a response from the state that that is not an unusual thing, and that all that you have to do for the lead and copper rule is just document the refusal and the type of refusal, whether it was no contact, no entry, some other
Verbal.
Sure, well, yeah, and then that is a record for then the non-metered properties to be levied a fee on top of the flat rate. So, just what I'm saying is that we will have that information if the service line inspections actually record that.
Basically, Corey's gonna supply that database, like you're saying, he's gonna have that list of who refused and who's on the list, and then.
And that's the strongly worded mailing list right there.
Right.
These 150 people say, no, go piss off. Like, okay, here's 150 letters strongly worded. You have 90
You
days
got
to
it.
comply
Right.
until the fine takes
Right.
effect.
Right, we don't get nasty until
No.
somebody's given us cause.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Okay, are we ready to move on?
To what?
I think so.
Well, there's an ordinance question about kind of where we are on the ordinance review,
Yep.
right? And then
So-
I have one other topic that I don't think will take a long time tonight, but we need to plant a seed about.
Yeah. So the ordinance, I really haven't done a lot with it since we last met. Tom and John both got me the specs a few days ago, so I will start diving back into that
Great.
now.
Okay?
Yeah, I don't know if that matters, but, so as what I'd sent, so the original one
Yeah, I
that I
saw
did was in
that.
2001,
Yeah.
but then I revised it with a much larger version, but it wasn't recorded. Jim couldn't find it.
It wasn't recorded, but it was voted on.
It was voted on, because I gave you the,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, And that was the version that you sent.
Right, because we were looking at that on the planning commission from the perspective of trying to coordinate that with the provisions, subdivision provisions in the zoning bylaw. Because the goal obviously is to have consistent standards.
Right.
in
Right.
both.
And the specifications is typically where where a municipality would have those detailed drawings. If you go, just the systems I know, like South Burlington, Colchester, all that, when you're handed their specifications, the whole back end of it is drawings of what your meter installations are supposed to look like, what your hydrant installations are supposed to look like, your thrust blocks, all that stuff.
You'll find everything in there except for the meters.
Yeah,
I mean,
Yeah.
we weren't doing meters back in the early 2000s.
yeah.
So part of the next update of that is to incorporate all of
Incorporate,
that
yeah.
meter.
Yeah, because the ordinance will start.
Yep.
So the council's probably gonna have to take action on
Make an
water
amendment,
specification.
adding that to it.
Right. So, or
Okay.
the public works specification.
Right.
Not water specification, the public works. It's all one big document.
Yes.
And I know from the zoning point of view, Frank's been looking at some of that from the point of view of trying to update those specs and change some of the non-technical aspects of it that were inconsistent with the zoning to
Yeah.
try to tie the two together so that people can look at them,
Right.
realize that there's one set of rules, not two conflicting ones.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's going to come up eventually before the council on the
Right, okay.
All right, so I got three things: a quick point of information, a question about rate setting, and a request for y'all to consider taking on. So the point of information is just to let you all know what the council did on Monday night. There was a requirement, I think we've talked about it in this group, that we notify this Village of Derby in advance of terminating our water service up there. And we're a little bit late to the game, but we did take action to notify the village. We sent minutes the next day to Derby, and they will take action on Tuesday night, the 15th. And so the hope is that we'll be all set to terminate when the water tower is ready to bring online. We will have met that obligation. It also requires that we make a $30,000 payment at the point of termination for profits not realized. That's part of the original contract with Village of Derby. So at the point when we actually switch over, we're gonna pay out 30 grand. So that's the point of information. It's just to let you all know. I think we've got that one. We were a little concerned because Tom and I, between us, missed a deadline to do. We should have done that probably a month and a half ago, and we just fumbled it. But I think we're okay and back in business.
What's the ETA for the water tower to come online?
Originally, it was late July. I don't believe they're gonna be, I think it's gonna be into August,
But it's coming.
it's coming up.
So the timing actually may be just fine. It may be, middle or end of August before they're ready to do it anyway. So,
Do we have the 30,000 in the budget?
yes, we do. Well, let me say it this way. We have it in the cash flow.
Is it earmarked?
I'm not sure that it was budgeted. I don't remember, honestly, Jennifer, if it was budgeted or not. But when we've been working on the cash flow and how much money we needed to borrow to cover from the line of credit this year, we were certainly counting on having to make that payment.
Right.
Okay. All right, second piece is a question, which is my recollection, please correct me if I'm wrong, is that because we had not actually been given permission to borrow $1 million to pay off the due to others line on the balance sheet for the sewer fund, we did not build the rate to cover potential payments of principal and interest on that for the year 25-26. And that means, I just want to kind of put it out there, that assuming we get a positive vote on the 12th of August to take that loan, and then we wait 30 days, right, John? Then we have to wait 30 days in case anybody contests it. The earliest we're likely to get around to borrowing that money is probably going to be roughly early October. End of September, early October is kind of the earliest I can imagine doing it. And somewhere in there, we're going to need to come back to this group and ask okay, how much do we need, what tinkering do we want to do now with the rate on water and sewer? We're going to look at how our numbers have gone over the summer, do a new analysis like the one you did 3 months ago, and include in it the fact that we're going to pay the principal and interest on this payment starting in probably October. And that won't begin to hit, right? Because if we make that decision, what would it be, October 1st?
We're going to have to make that, Lisa, what are the billing cycles?
Our last payment was, our last decision had to be made by April 30.
Right, so May, June, July, August, September, October. So basically during the month of October, we're going to have to come up with a number that we recommend to the council, and the council will have to vote on it.
By October 30.
By October 31st.
31st,
In order for it to take effect with
Before
the
the next.
next quarter.
And the good news is there's only going to be about a 2, maybe a 3-month lag time in there on principal and interest payments that we haven't accounted for. So it's not a full year's worth of payments that we're trying to cover for with half the year of rates.
Okay, so that's the other question that we need to know the answer to, which is the bond going to be paid in the form of annual payments, monthly payments, quarterly payments?
That's a really good question.
Because that makes a difference in the timing of this to some degree as to how we do it.
I have not yet gotten into those weeds. I don't know. You know, I don't know. That's the short answer.
Yeah, and, and the other thing is that like the city budget side of it, this one I think falls into that same statute that says that if the voters reject all of this, the council has the duty and obligation to immediately raise an additional increase on the tax rate to pay everything off within one budget cycle.
Right.
Which would be a hefty shock.
Good news keeps on moving.
The path of least resistance clearly is to get all this stuff passed from the point of view of minimizing the pain.
And how, we're voting on 4 things, right? Am I right?
5. In the end, we have 5 items.
Right.
I can tick them off quick.
Yeah.
This is one, this the $1 million on sewer, $1.8 million on the general fund, $3 million short term on the water tower to bridge to the anticipated bond income,
Gotcha.
right? An increase from $800,000 to $875,000 on the financing for the fire truck. And it was the council's decision to go ahead and ask voters for permission to reconfigure the tax rate for this year based on the $220,000 error we made in the general fund, where we counted the income. We've been doing this since 2018, but for this year, we counted on $220,000 coming from the state as a payment of revenue, but in fact, it's not additional revenue. It was already counted somewhere else. So that meant that we set our budget $220,000. We set the income side $220,000 too low.
The expense side hasn't changed.
Right.
The income side was.
So we asked, the fifth warning for that vote is going to be that one to say, we'd like your permission to tinker with that. So, and of course, we'll also be doing, I had a good conversation today with Chip Stearns, and we're determining the best way to go about a pretty deep dive into the 25-26 budget to look for any other places mistakes may have been made, any places where we could pick up savings. So just because the voters might say, yes, you can do this, doesn't mean we'll go do it. We're trying to find the most effective way to keep the expenses as low as we can.
The voters do need some information.
Do
They
need-
don't have it.
I can't hear you, Pam.
The voters do need some information and they don't
It's
have it.
on our list tomorrow with the finance team.
Okay.
We're on it. Believe me, that was another conversation with Chip today. We're on it. Okay, so that's the second piece. Here's the third one that came up today, also in my conversation with Chip. We are going to need to have a 5-year cash flow projection this fall for water, sewer, and general funds. And my hope is to delegate that task for water and sewer to this group, working with Tom, and it's going to have to include, Chip was quick to point out, to include not just what do we think happens in a normal year, but what happens if the vac truck, if we expect the vac truck to go under in 2 years, how do we plan ahead for that? Because it's gonna be a requirement of Passumpsic Bank in order to give us that $1 million loan for sewer to see a 5-year cash flow. We've already been told that. And it will be a requirement for the Vermont Bond Bank and probably for Passumpsic on a short-term note as well on the $3 million water tower one to see a 5-year water income state or water expense and revenue statement also. And we're gonna have to do a third one for general fund for the $1.8 million. So,
And I think there has to be some plan somewhere, there has to be some plan for water sewer rate increases to meet the budget. I mean,
that's the point.
That's-
We're doing a cash flow
Yeah.
projection here.
Yeah.
So the question is gonna be, what do we project the expenses to be? What do we think it will go up every year to run these operations, right? And then how do we make sure that we budget appropriately?
So I know VLCT puts out a calendar with all kinds of deadlines for different types of municipal actions. And I can't help but think that past city managers must have augmented that calendar with things that had to be done every year. Adding regularly scheduled reviews by the council as the water commissioners, sewer commissioners needs to go on that calendar.
That's a great idea.
Even if in a year when, nothing needs to change, it's a pro forma 5-minute thing, it still needs to be on there. As a reminder, if nothing else, that it absolutely has to be looked at every year.
Love it. Let's add it to Carter's
That's
spreadsheet.
what I'm leading up to,
Right.
because she seems to be developing
That, she's getting us our version of that, right?
Right, exactly. She's developing the part that's in addition to the VLCT calendar, which covers all kinds of things that
Yeah,
Jim's office needs to stay on top of all the time. Like this is the dog license window, this is the grant list window, this is this window, that window. They put out all those basics, but I don't know what existed in the past in city history, but Carter's whatever it is, time
The
chart,
spreadsheet,
spreadsheet.
Is it like a Gantt chart or something?
That's the word I was looking for. Yeah, exactly.
and I'll just take this moment to say to y'all, she was with me again today for an hour with Chip, and she's been in all of these meetings. We met with the auditors, and she was there the other day. She really is becoming pretty savvy about this stuff, so she's quite a resource for the council on the finance side.
But that needs to be built in. It's something that happens
Agreed.
every year automatically.
Yep.
The rates reevaluation,
Exactly,
and
yeah.
commissioners going through the whole
And
ordinance.
if we're looking at a July 1, June 30 fiscal year, and then, sometime
March.
in the winter, spring, every year,
Well-
it has to be on the agenda to look at with a timeline for a recommendation to come back.
I mean, the rate should be looked at when you develop your budget. I mean, you develop your
Absolutely.
budget,
Well,
you come up with your total expenses, you see if your rate will meet those expenses.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's part of the
that's why-
budgeting process.
That's
Okay,
why I
here's-
said the winter
Yeah.
timeline.
One more thing just to put in your thinking as we look toward trying to adjust rates for this fall, when we think about the rate adjustment we have to do and that 5-year projection. I have a meeting scheduled on Monday morning with Marguerite Ladd from VLCT so she can kind of download her experience with priority-based budgeting, which is kind of the municipal version of zero-based budgeting. It's an assumption that you do not just begin with whatever last year's budget was and make adjustments from there. You actually go back to the drawing board and say, okay, this is what do we want to accomplish, and what's the most efficient way to accomplish it.
Right, I mean, that's my budgeting experience. I mean, you start from scratch every year.
Glad to hear it, because
and
that's where we're headed this fall.
every line item has a worksheet that goes with it,
Yeah.
so you can show exactly what is in there.
Then I know who we're going to call on to help us with this. It's going to be the person who loves AutoCAD.
I don't mind AutoCAD, it's just, my list is getting longer.
So I just wanted you all to be aware. My hope is that the council will, by early August, will approve a process of budgeting that will go September through December. and that we'll really insist on kind of a ground-up approach this year, rebuilding it. And Chip is working with us. I hope that by the time we get to September, we will have the reformatted general ledger number accounting system in, so that we can slice and dice the data different ways in NEMRIC. We talked about that today as well. So
When's your meeting with her?
Monday morning, you want to come? 11 o'clock, I think.
I think I can.
Great.
Here?
Yeah, I'll be here. I'll be doing it from here, and you are welcome. That's it. That's all I wanted to give you.
Sorry, my brain. So if we get meters in, remember that the more meters we get in, the less income. And so the meters, yeah, and the meters. So I think we're currently in the quarter that's what, May, June, July, August. I'm just saying, what happens when we get to August and somebody gets their meter in? We immediately flip them. How we got to figure out how that's charged. I don't know. Do they get charged a prorated amount for the time they didn't have a meter?
That's the clerk's office, right?
Yeah. Okay. And that would have to go. And I think Jennifer wants to say something too. But my assumption is you guys did a great job, what you did, and hopefully that will be the launching pad. And believe me, as hard as you guys are working, we're right there beside you. So, we were hoping for some time off this summer, and that ain't gonna happen, I don't think. So, anyway.
Jennifer?
I think Lori has a point, but we have a standard operating procedure that Stacy uses. She logs them in and they become metered. So I think that we just continue with what we're doing. And to Laurie's point, yes, any of the people who put in meters so far, we are seeing a drop in income. And that's one of the things that I thought we had sort of semi-covered in some of the projections. But because the rate schedule was so out of whack, and Paul and I did not realize that, I made some gross assumptions that really screwed us in the fact that we didn't raise the rates enough. And so I think we're going to go through an equivalent rate increase when we do the next one. And we'll have more figures once I, sort of plan what we're gonna do with new meters. We'll have a much better sense with the new rates that came in February.
Yep, that was the whole idea, right? As we get more information, we keep adjusting.
Adjusting the rates.
Yeah.
Okay, that's everything I got, John.
Okay, and so it sounds like the finance people are going to start working on that fact sheet project tomorrow.
Yes, they are. Lori's already done some work.
They're gonna leave a section for water sewer, or is it a separate?
Honestly, all we're really trying to describe at this point is the specifics of the 5 things that we're voting on. So I don't think, we'll come ask you quickly any questions, but I think the finance team can probably put that together.
Okay.
Okay, I was just going to suggest if there are any questions,
We'll circle
copy
back
us
to
in
them.
the email or run it by us.
You got it.
You can come tomorrow at 4 o'clock, and anybody wants to come and join us.
I have a question before we get out of here. We've already established the department, you guys are gonna start that. Have we established that we're gonna set up the next stage while that's going on?
Well, that's what
Any
the
plans for that?
designs are needed for.
Yeah, that's what the designs are needed for, yeah.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
yeah.
I can help him get those ready.
Right.
Plus, I think we need to have some concept of where the money's going to come from
That's right.
before we go too far
That's
down the road with
Kind
these
of,
people.
yeah.
Right.
And we'll be in a much better position 6 weeks out than we are now, because we'll at least have the water tower accounting completed.
Yeah, I'm not even really prepared, unless we know a lot more than we do right now by the 21st, to raise the potential for spending less on the water tower. I want to wait until those numbers are real before we start raising that with the council as a real option.
Yeah. Are we making any sort of effort to recruit volunteer properties? Or are we just gonna let?
No, we've got the ones that Jennifer's cultivated,
Okay.
and Tom says he's got another list of people who have had lead inspections, and we know they're ready for a meter, so we've got enough to keep us busy.
Great. Okay.
We asked if there are names on that list. I know two that want them like as soon as.
How about you have them email Corey and he can
Oh,
check? I
alright,
think that's, all of this should go through Corey.
okay.
Any inquiries from anyone out of this room, pretty much.
So that would go to the Newport Water Department at Gmail.
Okay.
That's
That's
the email at the garage.
Newport Water Department at Gmail.
Yeah. And if you want me, it's my Thomas.Bernier.
Okay?
I think that's like, I think it's a good idea for you to tell people that there is someone to ask.
Okay,
So, because Court, I just want it all to go through one channel, you know?
absolutely, totally agree.
Yeah, it's all one word.
So we need to set a next meeting date?
Yep, that's pretty much where we're at, I think.
Got deathly silent.
Yeah, no,
So I'll be gone next week and the following week.
17, 24.
Set it up for the 24th, I won't be here.
Well, it could be worse. The state has dispatched rescue teams to Sutton, Lindenville, and Stowe as thunderstorms batter parts of Vermont with heavy rain.
Uh-oh.
Gosh.
I don't need that, I got too much dirt.
There it is,
Opened up.
July 10th.
Yeah.
So it's
Not that I'm superstitious,
the
but,
third year in a row.
yeah.
Amazing, just amazing.
Do we need to meet next week? You wanna go 2 weeks? What are you all thinking? Actually, hold on, let me make a, if Paul, or Paul and Patrick or whoever, can get the design questions figured out and help us come up with an actual estimate on the number of meters we think we can run for 50 grand, I don't think there's a need to meet next week.
Yeah, once we come up with what
The design.
components we're gonna put into it, I can get pricing on.
Okay, so if you guys can work together, just my deadline is that a week from tomorrow, I need your information so that I can appropriately warn that on the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay? So then I don't think there's a need to meet next week. We could go to.
So we might
could,
not
like,
actually need to meet
red
again
line.
until,
Yeah.
say, July
Yeah, right,
31st, 3 weeks out.
Sorry, you were suggesting the 31st? I would be remote, but I could probably zoom in.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to attend all.
Can we do the 24th?
Tom's out of town, I think.
You can do the
without
24th,
it.
I just.
Yeah, it's fine by me.
I just feel like, you know, if Paul goes back to work on the ordinance stuff, we got plenty to talk about.
Yeah.
And we can start working on some of those questions about how we're going to develop the 5-year
Yeah.
cash flow and that kind of stuff, right?
Okay, so let's shoot for the 24th then. It's
Good.
6:30.
Besides, Pam wouldn't know what to do with herself if we didn't meet at least every 2 weeks.
I would struggle, but
Go swimming
You can
or
come up with
maybe,
an option.
maybe just cook dinner.
Until that point, you guys.
Enjoy a summer evening.
Identifying the copper lead.
whoa.
Okay, I think we're done, y'all.
That's gonna be your.
Thank-